Okay, good morning, everybody. Uh, Once again, welcome to Breakfast with Data, our daily data session. In this deep dive with data series, yesterday we were looking at um, how you can perform certain operations within using Pandas DataFrame when you want to reshape, maybe you want to do pivots and make different a lot of sense out of the data. I mean, that's almost as complex as it gets with, especially with Pandas DataFrame. The other thing that we are going to do today, we are going to be looking at reading and writing files, and we'll be reading from CSV. We'll look at what are the best practice when you are trying to read file from CSV. I mean, a lot of times we just say, okay, pd.read from CSV or fetch data from CSV or load data back to CSV. And while that may be okay in certain cases, sometimes it can hide some unnecessary complexity. I think there was one case where we see, and we're going to deal with all the fast schema and all those kind of edge cases that we are seeing that will make your data or your project look better or more professional. Okay, without wasting any more of our time, let's dig into this. Today we are going to look at the that enrollment table. In fact, I should have opened that. So if we go to the to our data catalog, and let's try and see. I don't know why this is coming, but before that, we can, while that is loading, we can start with pd dot read. I said pd.read. We have to import pandas first. Import pandas as pd, and then we can see, maybe let's just use data frame now. df is equal to pd dot read csv, right? And of course, I will show you that you can also read Parquet, you can um read different category or types of data as the case may be. In this particular case, let's just pick the enrollment table, and I'm going to, wait a minute, I should refresh this directory, and I'm going to pick the enrollment table so that I will be able to copy this and go here. I'll just pass this. Now, when we run this now, what are some of the hidden issues that will come? We have seen in a previous session that enrollment date will be coming as, if we do df.dtypes, right, we will see that everything in this particular thing is string. So we are seeing it object status string. But if we look at this, right, let's say display df.add, not add, we can clearly see that at least even from the name, enrollment date is supposed to be a date data type. And one thing we can do, we can pass date as we are loading. I don't know why this is taking forever. Let's refresh. I think it's the internet is What crazy this morning. Okay, good. You can see that our, let's close this so that this is more clear. All we can see here, we can see that this is supposed to be an enrollment date, right? And then we have status, which is active, complete, withdrawn. So, but if we keep on digging, in fact, instead of doing, because it's not a big table, I can display everything actually here, and I can see everything. Sorry, I can display everything, and we can see. Can you see this format, right? And this format is a little bit different from this format. This is why Pandas, I mean, Spark would have done the same thing. It's more of a Python kind of thing. When it's confused about what data type this should be, what will it do? It will just say, look, there are mixed formats here. If it's a single format, right, it might be easier for it to detect that this is a date, right? But since the format is a little bit mixed, it just categorize everything as a string. How do you fix that? You can fix it by saying, instead of just entering this, you can decide to say, oh, we want to pass date. So I can decide to, we can copy this one and do it this way, and we pass date here. And a lot of times this will fail because of the different date format, but you should know that this function does exist. Pass dates, right? And we'll set that equal to, we'll tell it the column to pass, and we can say enrollment date. And if we run this now, we might get an error. Okay, we did not get error. Interesting. So I was expecting us to get error actually, but we did not get error. So if we run this again, let's see what we get. You see that even though we choose pass date, right, for DF, it did not pass that date because it is still confused as to how should it pass the date. So, and this is actually better than it than I have actually predicted, than I would have predicted actually. I was expecting it to actually break the code, right? Because it's a little bit difficult for it to pass this as a date time. Now, how do we make sure that this is passed as a date? We have to give it a particular function that takes care of this anomaly, right? Because this is not supposed to be the standard way. Here you have like this is day, month, year. And how do I know that this is day? Because there is no month that is 18, and this is year, month, day. So we have day, month, year, and year, month, day, and we have this one with / and this other one with hyphen. What do? We have to try and so what we will do here, let's create a a function that we go through. So we can do def and we can call this parse mixed dates. I hope you guys remember from our functions class. Again, you have to, so it will take an argument of a date string, right? And that way we pass it on a particular, we use the apply method of a data frame to apply this function to that particular column. So what we are going to do, we are just going to say for format fmt in, so we now list how that format looks like in a particular tuple. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say because this is a date format, so I will do percentage year hyphen somebody hand up. John, go ahead. Be asking your question. Is your network? Can someone else see your screen? I just want to confirm. Yes, you can see screen clearly. I knew it's your network. So we can do this. And we can do percentage D and // percentage / ampersand year, right? For year, day, month, and day, month, year in we can say try return PD dot to dates date time, and as we take the date str that we already passed earlier, and the format will be set equal to the FMT format that we define at the beginning of this loop, and we can accept value error, then we can, if not, can return PD dot NAT. Oh, if we have this value error, we have to continue here. Okay, I think that is fine now. Then we can then do the same. We can do the same, run the same PD, right? The same data frame, but then can now do our enrollment and say df enrollment picking the enrollment column, enrollment dates, can set it equal to the same. Can just copy this guy again, right? Then we use a dot apply, and we can look at this and you apply this function on that particular column. And I'm just going to try and do df.d types immediately. So can you see that enrollment time has changed to date time 61 or 64, sorry. If we pass this now, can you see that this has now changed, right? We now have this in a in a in a particular order or a particular format that makes sense, right? So every date time is now passed, and you can do time series analysis on this enrollment. Any questions so far? Is it clear so far? So good.
Yes, sir. It's clear, sir. I don't know what PDNET does.
Not a time. It's like null. So if everything fails, right? If it doesn't see this, it will just put. So for example, let's say a column is it doesn't fit any of the format that we've seen. There's an echo coming from your side, Murphy. If it doesn't fit any of the format that we've seen, it's just going to is going to replace it with like null. Do you get? So if there is a column that you put your name inside, if it does not see it in this particular format, does that make sense?
Yes, sir. It is.
Because it would have returned it here. Otherwise, it will throw a value error. But that value error, we don't want this to break. You understand? We say it will continue, right? But for that particular column, return null. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's try this in Spark. In Spark, it's very, very important. You know, I was telling you before that infer schema, you should never do infer schema in production. And nobody asked me what should we be doing in production. In production instead, right? You need to explicitly state what column, what data type are you dealing with when you are doing this. And from this, I'm going to introduce you to another stuff within this. So we are going within the PySpark Spark SQL library. So I'm going to say PySpark .sql dot types. These are data types, and everything is more like struct. You'll be saying struct something. So I think it's types, not type, but it will throw error, so we'll be sure. Import. I'm going to do struct type. This is what we will use to set the struct type. I know there is string type. We may not use all of these, but I just want to bring them in. I think there is the struct field. Struct field. No, there is I think there is date type. Yes, date type. There is which one? Integer. Integer type. If it doesn't exist, it will throw error. So I will know. And of course, our, let's say from PySpark .sql .functions, like we always do, import, going to import col and I'm going to import to date. The reason for this is that if we can do straight struct type, date type, but we will run into issue if we did not specify format and stuff like that. So I would rather first bring everything in as a string for the date type, right? Then apply the this thing, since we have mixed date format. Again, if your pipeline is sound, before you get here, I mean, maybe we will have another series later for pipeline design again. Before you get to this point, you would have already handled this issue. And I'm just going to do coalesce. Let's run this now, and I will know if there is anything. Oh, it's functions. Why do I keep making this mistake almost every time? Again, these are the points where you say thank God for LLM in real life, because otherwise I imagine what, no, well, there was a way we were doing it sharp before these guys came. So not the second thing I want to do, since I know that these are all correct, is to define the schema that I want. So I'm going to say enrollment schema, and this is the kind of stuff you will do in prod. I'm going to say enrollment schema will be equals to, and I'm going to bring in the struct type. Now inside this struct type, there will be several. In fact, maybe I should do command Z, put it in. All the different columns that will be there, I'm going to list them, but they are coming in as a struct field. So it's more like column, but the the Spark way of defining them. So I'm going to say struct field and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to do everything as, what's the first year? Enrollment ID. In fact, let me bring this here so that I'm able to easily see it here. Let me bring this so that I can just copy, because I don't want to make any mistake in naming the different this thing. So I'll bring this in. Then I need to specify the data type. Remember, this is just like you are defining in a table in SQL. So this one will be a string type. In fact, everything in this particular case will be a string type. All right. And I'm going to say if this can be null, right? Can student ID be null? I'm going to say false, right? Nullable is false. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this, and I'm going here and I'll paste it here. How many columns do we have again? 5, right? To make things fast, since all of them are strings, I'm just going to go here and change this to student ID. I'll change this to course code, change this to enrollment dates, Then we have status. Right? And note that I am doing everything as string type here. How do we then apply this? I can say df spark, right, equals to the same spark dot read dot csv, and I'll pass in the URL of our enrollment CSV, right? And that's it. Then I will tell you that the schema will be equal to this guy, so that it applies that schema straight. And then I will do header is equal to true, like we normally do. Right? Now, if we run this now, you will see that this is still a string, because if I do display df spark, right, we will still get the same kind of stuff. How do we then make sure that our date type is passed in properly? We need to also, again, this is a problem of mixed data type. You can see that it's a string. How do we do that? We can do the same column, right, as a derived column. What do I mean? You know that we use with column. So if I do df spark is equal to df spark dot with column. In fact, so what I'm going to do the distance so that it will make sense to everybody. Okay, let me look at this other approach. Column, right? And we can now specify what column we are dealing with, and I'm going to say dspark dot with column, yes, and I can pick enrollment date here, right? And we are adding a derived column, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say coalesce right, whichever one comes first. To date, I think to date here is, let me check, to underscore date. Okay, to underscore to date, and we can bring the column, right, and we can do the same enrollment date, and first format, we pass in the first format if it sees it as that, whichever one it sees first, and this will be YYY, right, hyphen hyphen DD, because this is the first format. The other format we need to also account for that, so I can just copy this guy since it's the same thing, and I can give this. So in the case where this does not work, the other format should absolutely work. So we are going to start that one with DD, right? And it will be /mm, right? /y. Right? Okay. Then I can decide after this to say, let's print schema. DFSpark dot print schema.
So why are we using the same column name for different?
Because we want to update it in place. Do you get? So if I do this now, right? Because what we are trying to do is to convert the data type of this guy. But in order to do that, we have to use it as a derived column and replace the existing column. So I could do enrollment date new, right? And if I run this now, I'm going to get another additional column. Do you see enrollment date new? The old enrollment date remains the same. And if we run this now, we are going to see that it's going to show the two different data types. The two different / could not pass index return. Oh, this one is now nullable. What's going on here? / 1809. Wait, I did DD. Interesting. Text could not pass. Try to date to tolerate. So there is a specific, they say that is trying to break. There's a hedge case. 18, yes. 18 is ZD, right? 09 should be month. And year is 2024. Why is it now making sense? But let's go back to just keeping enrollment date, not new dates. I hope you understand why we use the same column now, and we can worry about this
So that means dot with column can also be used to update.
You said?
So when you use with column method, it can also be used to update an existing column if you send it.
I don't get.
I was thinking that anytime we use the with column method, we are always creating a new column.
Yes.
I think that we can use it
No,
for
if you
and old one.
you know that the way Pandas is, right? The way I say the way Pandas is, the way data frames are, they are supposed to be immutable, right? So if you do with column something, it's creating a new data frame and adding that new column to it, right? In this particular case, instead of that new data frame, instead of that new data frame to be, is now you are trying to like more or less update it in place. And this is because and it's telling us to use try to date instead of this our to date straight, so that it can tolerate us having null. So there is a particular case, I believe there is a stubborn this thing. So instead of us doing to date, can do, let's follow that is let me just try this to date, so that if this thing does not work, we'll paste it. Of course, we have to bring it in the function. Try to date. So let's run this now. And we don't really need this guy, so I'm just going to delete this cell. And let's run this. And everything should be fine now. So there is a particular date that And this is crazy because none of the dates have issue after we've done we've done this. It just doesn't want us to use that straight to date. It wants to try to date in case of edge cases. Okay, we are fine. Any questions so far so good?
No, sir.
Okay. Now you might be asking that, is it not the same when I say do infer schema and I specify everything as string? What advantage or disadvantage does that give? You see, when you tell Spark to infer schema, you are basically reading the file twice. One to load, the other one to infer the schema, right? So your IO cost will go up. It's like whatever you are doing, it will go up straight. The reason is, yes, now on a this thing like this is not, it's not a big deal. I see Mafi, I think you have been doing that without without knowing on your current project. That's because I have knowledge of some of the things you are doing, so I can see that your face, your facial expression do this thing. So let's say you have, I mean, on small data like this, you won't notice anything, right? But when you are dealing with big data, data that is very huge, let's say the kind of data you are dealing with, Mafi, like 1 terabyte, 500 gig, you are going to notice that difference. So it's twice faster when you can tell it explicitly all the this thing is string, not for it to first load it in first, then try to infer the schema on top of the this thing. But you are telling it off the bat that this is the schema, this is the data type, this is the data type, this is the data. If there's any data type you can that did not fit, that you did not plan for, you can always apply. And string is just a safe data type, and it's one of those things that we do when we are designing a medallion architecture. In your raw layer of your data lake, virtually everything will be string. I know some people that do everything string. I know some people that try to standardize the date format, because remember that even when the date is correct, and the case we have here is not a case of date not being correct, it's just a standardization issue. You understand? It's what we call in data quality terms consistency issue. So it's a consistency problem of data, of data quality, right? In the sense that the format of the date is not consistent. And these are even fine cases. I've seen, believe me sincerely, I've seen terrible cases. Now, is it only, so let's look at mm, um let's look at some other stuff, because it's not only this thing that we have, right? We don't only have CSV file. You can actually read you can read Parquet, you can read feathers. You understand? There is this new data type they call feather. I just came across it actually too. Very, very, very fast. So how do we write how do we write a data frame? Let's see. This one that we have DFSpark. I can do excuse me. I can run this now, and instead of just df, I can, let's call this DFSpark. I'm going to delete this display because we don't need it, so that we can see. The whole purpose is for us to be able to see. So instead of this, I'm just going to call this guy DFSpark, right? Yeah, I said DFSpark, DF Pandas, so that we can differentiate the two. Pandas, I should have done that earlier. Apologies. And then what I'm going to do is to also add that our, let me just go and look for where we did it. Yes, apply mixed dates. So um, instead of us to have df, I'm just going to change this to df pandas, and I'm going to change it to df pandas. So we are good. We have df spark and df pandas in this particular case. Now we can now decide that, look, we want to see what do I want to say? We want to see the we want to write this. Let's say we want to write this our data frame. You know, we've applied this now. We can write this our data frame back to our volume, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say, how do we write this? We are going to write them in the different format, maybe Parquet, and we are going to write maybe some as delta or something. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say, I think, so we are going to take the ZF pandas, and I'm going to do to CSV dot to CSV. This is if we are writing it back. Maybe you've done some transformation, whatever transformation you want to do. This is your final data frame. We want to write it back. We need to tell it the path that we want to write it to. And I want to write this CSV to this same enrollment, but I'm just going to put something because there will be a table already called enrollment.csv there. And so I'm just going to say updated, or let me say new, so that we are able to see that. Now you have to tell it, the data frame, that it should not go with the index. Otherwise, you will have this 1, 2, 3, whatever the df has, but we don't want that. So we are going to say index equals false, right? We don't want that index. Now this same this thing, you can also do df pandas dot to Parquet I used to call this Parquet when I first started this, because it sounds like Parquet, but they say it's Parquet. In fact, I see people still call it packet files, packets, right? And I think it's okay. However you pronounce it, still makes sense, right? And I can so place this still, and I can just call this enrollment.parquet instead of placing this thing. I'll just right dot Parquet. And there is also the feather, right? So we can do df pandas dot to feather, and we can just paste this and dot feather. So there's a feather file format. Let's run this now. If I don't have any, okay, this is done. If we go back here and we refresh, all right, let's refresh. we should now have that our this thing. Can you see something? Can you see that enrollment size here, it has decreased? We have enrollment CSV, new CSV, almost the same thing as the old one. The old one is all but we see that further increase the file size a little bit. Parquet reduce it drastically, right? And you may not see this because we are dealing with kilobytes, but this is almost a 50% reduction. So sometimes you get up to 45 to 50% size reduction. Further did increase it a little bit. We are seeing that, but I hear that this thing is extremely fast when you are reading it. What is the difference between CSV, Parquet, and feather? Columnar, Parquet, I'm going to talk about it. Parquet is just awesome, right? It's columnar, it's not, it has the schema, schema binding, so the schema always goes with it. That's with enrollment and this thing. So it stores with feather and Parquet, it stores the schema. So, but with CSV, everything is string. All right. Now, there is another. If you are going to do this in Spark, you can also do it. So let's do Spark DF. We can do Spark DF Spark dot write. Let's do our DF Spark, right, that we just read, right, dot write. We can do the same Parquet this thing, and in this case I'm actually going to overwrite. So I'm going to say df spark dot write dot mode. So you can either append or overwrite. So in this particular case, I'm going to overwrite. So if there is anything that bears that particular name, which I do know there is something that bears the name, it will overwrite it. Now I'm going to say dot mode will be overwrite. We could do append, and I know some of us are getting an idea of how this may make sense in our this thing. I'm going to say dot Parquet, and let's pass this same URL of the old Parquet so that it just goes and overwrites that. Or we can actually say enrollment SP if we don't want it to overwrite it. And now there is if you think Parquet is good, there's another file format that is called there is this other file format that is called Delta, which is the default on Databricks. Every table you are seeing is Delta Lake file format, which is amazing. Like if you think Parquet is good, think of Parquet on steroid. That's Delta, and the same mode, right? And I'll do overwrite, right? I'm typing over white. Thank God I read that clearly, because this guy would have thrown error. Dot format. I'll just specify Parquet. No, not Parquet. It's Delta actually. Delta. All right, and I can save. Dot save. And I'll pass the path, but instead of instead of it to be this thing, I'm just going to say greenfield enrollment delta. Right, let's run this. If there's no syntax error, everything should be fine. No, there was an interruption at that point. Good. Now if we refresh this, and another thing, delta has acid compliant. Can you see something that we now have Parquet SP? Why did he put this in? He broke it actually down into the different. Okay, yeah, you can't really see. He broke it down into the different. I was expecting it to overwrite this Parquet, but again, it did not. So this is delta. This delta is a Parquet file. If we look at it, this is a Parquet. It's snappy compression, and it will contain the log of everything. So how is data lake Databricks able to do time travel? How are we going to be able to do that? Delta, you can always do version as of so, and everything is 3.2 kilobytes in this particular case. And if you go back, you will see that yeah, delta is even smaller than the one from Spark, is smaller than the one we read from a Pandas DataFrame. Because of our time, there is one more thing I think I should show you, which is when you are doing the right mode and stuff like that, you can also tell it to partition. So for example, how will it break things? So here I can do instead of dot, just doing when I do df dot write dot mode, I can tell it to, let's try this here. I think it will be better here. Delta will already do its own thing under the hood, so I can add a dot partition by okay, this may be something that, because we might want to partition it by the enrollment year, right? And I can easily add another column to my df spark, and that one I'll just do like this because we've already passed it to date. So I can say df spark, right, dot is equal to df spark, right, dot with column, right, and I can add a column enrollment underscore year, and I can then have the year part of COL. And did we bring in year? Okay, the enrollment dates, enrollment dates. So enrollment dates, I think we need to import year. Okay, let's try and run this now. And we should be fine here. And then since I would have already had this, I can just do dot partition. Is that the correct spelling of partition? By and I'll pass the enrollment year, right? So that my files will be partitioned according to their enrollment year when I'm writing it to Spark. Partitioning, oh, there is an error there. What is the issue? A mismatch was detected when writing delta states. Let me read this one. All right. Good. Now, let's go here and refresh this our raw. And we can go to, do you see that it would have broken it down into the different, you now see a column called enrollment year, right? Everything is now broken down into this. So when you load it, the partitioning, it has broken it down by enrollment, the year, and maybe if there are 4 years, of course, there will be just 1 year here. So enrollment year is equal to 2024. That's the only one that we have. So if we have, let's say 2025, 2026, 2027, you will see the different folders for the different years. You understand? That makes it easier for you to filter your data frame and makes everything faster. We are right on time, but I will leave 1 or 2 minutes for questions. Questions, guys.
Mr. Ola, I don't know. Today's class is I don't know. I don't know if you can take screenshot or maybe we can get the script.
Go and watch it on YouTube now.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I'm not used to this thing. I don't know, is it possible to book an appointment on this IO stuff? I'll see with documentation, but maybe it's possible to book an appointment.
Yeah, I know that may be a problem that you are currently having, especially because I have a view into the project you are working on. But again, we can discuss offline.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. It's been Breakfast with Data. Have a lovely day ahead.